Hi, this is Cassio, and you're watching Purebred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV.
G'day guys and welcome to the Purebred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV. I'm your host Ellis Gelios, and today in the studio I'm joined by Cassandra Tripietti, who has a history of being an AUFC club journo, covering quite extensively most facets of the club, the W League, Youth League and senior team in the past, now with 442 Australia. Great to get you on, Cassandra. Thanks so much for stopping by. Why don't you just tell us a bit about your background, all the years that you spent at the club in the roles that you were in, and what you're up to now, and just to get the fans familiar with you.
Thanks for having me, Ellis. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Obviously, spent I think was about 3 years at Adelaide United. That was, definitely many highlights there, covering the youth, like you said, the W League, the seniors. Was there for our championship win, so
that would have been the best thing ever.
Definitely, was on the sidelines for that, and will always be etched in my brain. So got to meet some great people on and off the field, and it's been great ever since then.
Awesome. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you're doing now as well? So 442, obviously, the showcase magazine of Australian football since as long as I can remember. Now it's moved to a digital footprint, and you're based in Adelaide writing for them, covering the A-League now as opposed to just Adelaide United. Tell us how that's been since you left Adelaide United.
Yeah, that's been great as well. Obviously, I get to cover the A-League in general, also for the women's game as well, so that covers all women's sport, but I do the W League, so obviously a passion for women's football as well, which is great. I can cover all assets of football, so which is really good.
And how good is it, just on that topic, that our W League team have finally started to step up, and it looks like they are in the running to make the finals for the first time.
It's obviously first time making finals, and we deserve it, especially this year. Spoke to our captain Emma Checker at the start of the year, and she just said we want to win, and nothing but a win will be good enough. So and they've really done that, which is good to see.
Yeah, and props to Ivan Karlovic for being the man to come in when there's been such a history of not succeeding, and to finally get them up and about is shows a lot about the fact that he may have quite a potentially big future in the coaching ranks. So great from that perspective, and great to have our W League team performing so well. Why don't we just quickly touch on the Melbourne victory on Wednesday night, 2-0 win. Craig Goodwin back on the score sheet finally, and also Ken also produces in a big game for the first time. Now I just want to start by asking, was this Marco Kurz's best display of a flawless tactical masterclass since he arrived in Adelaide at the start of last season?
You know what, I'd definitely say so. I think definitely for this season it's our best performance by far. Just the way the whole team was just on, everyone played exceptionally well from defence to the offence, and I think everything just flowed, and we really pressed Melbourne Victory, something that I haven't really seen this season. So something like that, I think it's probably one of our best performances, and one from Kurtz as well.
Brilliant. What's your opinion on what went wrong for Victory? Were they just unlucky? Obviously missing players like Honda as well, but given that they've been in such good form, they haven't lost a game since the first 2 opening rounds. And to come to Adelaide against a team that's been rather inconsistent, with our injury headaches going on ourselves, would you have expected them to be a little bit more dominant in this game and probably put 1 or 2 more chances away?
I think so. I mean, they've missed Honda for a number of weeks now, and without him they've been playing well with Ola Toivonen and players like that, Barbarouses, Terry Antonis as well. So I was really surprised that they didn't put something away. Antonis had a chance, I think, in the second half. He hit the crossbar. I think we just outplayed them, which is, it's weird to talk about because and say, because it doesn't really happen for us against Victory a lot of the time. So I think that was the case though.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but given all the Adelaide Oval games against Victory, whenever we've had a home game against them, I don't think we've beaten them at Cooper Stadium since as far back as 2012.
You know what? Yeah, I think yeah.
Which is quite stunning, really, because it's been such a long time coming, and I don't think people even remember the last time we beat them at Cooper Stadium. So definitely some real massive celebrations going on at full time, and the Red Army, they were pumping, and everyone looked like it was a great night out for them, and it was good to see, because the home attendances haven't always been great this season. We've had a few 8,000s and maybe a little less than that sometimes. So to finally get a real healthy crowd out, and to make sure that we can sort of hope these fans might come back after making sure we held on, is massive for me, because we actually at home against the Victory, even at Adelaide Oval, we've struggled to some leads and hold on to the 3 points. So great that the team got over the line.
Yeah, definitely. It always brings more so the bad memories playing Victory rather than the good, as you know. So it's good to finally get one over them.
Absolutely. All right, well, we'll jump straight into it then. So the ins and outs for both sides. So for Adelaide, returning is Vince Leah from suspension, and the big one, Cassandra, is Mirko Boland, who returns from injury. Now, we don't know. We saw with Blackwood before he had come back in a proper sense. He was named in the squad. I think it might have been the Western Sydney game at home, and then he was withdrawn right towards the start of kickoff. We don't know how legitimate it is, but he has been named, so we'll get back onto him in a second. Outs, none. However, the unavailables for us, still Bubba Diawara with that knee problem, Lachlan Brook with a knee issue as well, and Apostolos Stamatolopoulos, the third striker in the pecking order, has a quad issue. Moving into Sydney, Charles Lokalingoi is promoted, and Cam Devlin is also promoted, two of their younger players. Out for them, no one. However, unavailable is Ben Warland. We all know about him, and I'm sure you might have even interviewed him in the past, being around the youth team setup. So he's out with a foot issue. Joop van der Linden, with a hamstring problem. Trent Bahagia with an ACL, so that's indefinite. He's probably out for until the early rounds of next season. And Chris Zavella, and also Ryan Grant, which is huge because of the Socceroos duty in the Asian Cup. That's a lot of outs for Sydney. Just touching on that.
It is actually.
And you look at the obviously the experience of Van der Linden, the pace of Bahagia, and Ryan Grant, who's one of their best players going forward, really plays into our hands, you'd think.
Yeah, for sure. I think if we can bring that momentum in from the Victory game, surely we can get the win. And we've always played well against Sydney. Sometimes we can't get the win, or we've just lost. So I think this time, we can actually get that win.
I'm not 100% sure about it, but I think our away record against Sydney might be better than our home record against Sydney. Actually, home,
I think you're right.
Because I just seem to recall a lot of wins down the years at the Sydney Football Stadium, and I have a real memory of some frustrating days when they've come to Coopers. So
definitely.
I'm not 100% sure about that, but anyway, just moving into the key stats. So we've beaten them 20 times. They've beaten us 18 times. There's been 9 draws. We've scored 66 goals against them, and against us they've scored 64. So quite interesting, that statistic, because a lot of people on the fly probably don't assume that we've beaten them more than they've beaten us, but that's how it turns out to be historically. So I'm not sure what you make of those stats. Nothing really too interesting to touch on, but it's historically we win this battle. Just going to get straight into the key components. So starting with Sydney FC's most recent game away to Perth. They lost 3-1. It was straight after our game against the Victory on Wednesday evening. They were really poor, Cassandra. Defensively, just giving the ball away a lot in dangerous areas, not covering the space that was afforded to quick players like who Perth have, and it just seemed like they weren't really at the races against Perth.
No, exactly. And sorry to former Red Michael Zulu. He's normally on his game. He didn't have his best game either, so he's normally a key player for them down the wing there. So I think Perth are obviously very good this season, but a team like Sydney, you'd think they would have competed a bit more. Surprising, they were quite poor. So if they bring if we can do the same as Perth did to them, then I think we're in winning ways, hopefully.
I just want to quickly ask you about Steve Corica. So Sydney are a big club, and whenever they have had a bad season or they haven't gotten to the marker that they set for themselves, they've usually gone for that big sort of name replacement to come in the following year. Steve Corica did have a small amount of experience as a caretaker many years before getting the Sydney job this season. Were they right to assume that Corica would be able to just carry on what Graham Arnold brought to Sydney? Or is his lack of experience in the big job starting to show a little bit? Because as good as they have been at times this season, there have been a few questionable games that they played as well. So what's your take on Steve Corica, just firstly? Yeah,
even though, he's definitely... Sydney aren't the team that they were under Graham Arnold, obviously. I know they lost a few players like Bobo, Mijayevski.
Yeah, he was a massive loss.
Massive loss in both of them. So, but they're still not quite that team under Arnold. I think Corica's done an okay job, not the best. I don't think he is well suited to the team. He probably needs this season. If they keep him on for next, he might be better. But this season, it's been very inconsistent.
Fair enough. So we'd assume that Sydney are going to be hungry and are willing to get straight back into the bookies as favourites on the list for the championship when we visit them at Jubilee Oval this coming Sunday afternoon. Moving on to more of a focus with us. So Boland, do you start him, given both Konstantopoulos and Leah don't add a whole lot going forward? And I have to be careful with the way I say that, because I'm not trying to disrespect either of them, but when a Vince Leah, for instance, comes in, it's usually him playing the 6 role with Izza, both as the anchoring players. With Konstantopoulos, it's a bit different because he feels the need to use his energy. He's young. He's got a lot of he's still got to prove himself in a way. Didn't quite happen for him at Brisbane. He's come back home. He hasn't been able to cement himself in the starting team. So whenever he plays, he tries to get forward. He tries to be a bit more ambitious. But with either of them, they're both flawed. Let's put it that way. In a way. So do you rush Boland back in for this game, or given that he is fit, we assume he's fit? Or do you stick with one of the other two?
It's tough to say. I think bringing Boland in straight away to start might not be the best idea, given we don't know his fitness level at the moment. But I did like what I saw from Konstantopoulos against Victory. Vince Leah, he's always a solid player. He can get in a bit of tussles now and then, but I think we'll be okay with either of those three against Sydney.
It's interesting with Vince Leah, a lot of people didn't actually know that he was out on Wednesday night due to suspension, because he's picked up 5 yellows. And I think it's a great thing that we've got a player that does that, because Izza's very honest. He won't pick up a yellow unless it's a professional foul, which he doesn't often do because he's usually straight back into position in the transitions. But with Vince Leah, he's the kind of experienced player that will always take on for the team. And he goes about it in a way that's not aggressive and dirty. He's quite professional in how he plays, and but he'll still cop those critical yellow cards to hold the play up late in the second half, etc. And I just feel like we need to credit him a bit there, because we don't have anyone else in the midfield that is really that kind of mould.
That's right.
Just found that interesting, because I saw that he was suspended and I was like, 5 yellows already.
Not long before the game. So it was, obviously went through Twitter and saw that.
Okay, so moving right along, does the return of a fit striker and now Boland give Kers any reason to revert to a more balanced approach tactically? Or, given the Victory Newcastle results of late and the fact that we should have beaten Wellington last Saturday, given the high chance creation, do we stick to the counter-attacking style? What are your thoughts on that?
I liked what I saw against both Victory and Newcastle. With the counter-attacking, we seem to be scoring more, even without the striker. So if we sort of hold back a little bit more, we always cop the goal and concede the goal from the opposition. So I think with the counter-attack, we've got fast-paced players going forward. Goodwin, Nicola. So if we can, win the ball, counter-attack, move forward, I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah, even Kiddo is got a lot of options in that regard. Does it need to be sort of spoken about the fact that under this style that we play under Kurz, it's almost very much like we're always playing away from home.
Yeah.
Is it something you can rely on in the long term? And is it great from a sort of neutral perspective, and those fans that aren't really United fans, but you see them come out a lot, always against a victory in Sydney in the high profile games. I could pick out a lot of people in the crowd who I know through other reasons who I would think, why are you here? But it's victory, so that's why you're here.
Yeah.
So those kinds of fans that come out and see that we're always sort of playing with 10 men behind the ball, waiting for that mistake from the opposition to then pounce and score in a classic counter-attacking style that most teams would play when they're away from home. I don't know, does it all bode well? Is it all healthy in a long-term sense, or how do you view that?
It's hard when you don't regularly watch our games, and if they're seeing that we're playing that way, they're going to think, that's what Adelaide United style is. So I don't know if it could work. I think it'd be okay. I think if we play like that, it's going to work in our favour, hopefully.
Given the players that are available.
Given the players that are available, which always helps. So, but I think if you watch us regularly, like I said, it's not like that all the time. So, it's just a matter of, it comes down to scoring goals as well. Which we always seem to have a problem with.
Always our main deficiency. I mean, even like with people like my old man who doesn't watch every week, but he's gone to games, he's gone to a selection of games every season. He remembers the Amor and Gombau days quite well, and he hasn't been to a lot of games under Kurz, but he was at the Melbourne City game recently, watched the Victory game on TV, and he even sort of remarked to me it's completely different now. Without him knowing a lot about Marco Kurz, he was just saying we don't play that. The nice passes, pretty triangle moves that we had under the previous regime. It's a little bit less attractive to watch.
It is,
But I guess winning football is the best kind of football when you want to attract fans. So you can argue it both ways, I guess. There's back-to-back games away in Sydney. We play Sydney on the Sunday and then Western Sydney next Friday. Both teams aren't in the greatest form, particularly the latter. Western Sydney, they are really struggling, and it's pretty baffling as to why. But we'll stick to sort of more of the Sydney FC focus. But in any case, we've got both of those teams back-to-back away in Sydney. Does this sort of point out to us that we're at the truly business end of the season right now? And for you, how important is it that we come away with a minimum of 4 points, which I would think off the fly is, a realistic enough target?
I agree. I think we can get the win against Western Sydney. Against Sydney, I was maybe predicting a draw, but we are definitely coming into that business end of the season where we need to get as many points in as possible, because Sydney could end up going back on a really great run of form. You've got Perth, Victory, even City, so we really need to stick in that top 6 and play finals this year for sure.
The stadium debacle in New South Wales at the moment, how it's affecting Sydney and Western Sydney. Do you think this is sort of anything more than just a trivial little talking point for Fox Sports, or is there something bigger at play? Because Sydney have struggled on a few occasions at Jubilee Oval to win. I can recall Victory beating them there, and they're not looking completely like themselves there. And obviously Western Sydney, we won't talk too much about them because it's not a Western Sydney preview, but we know what their struggles are like at home. They are seriously in a bit of a rut. Is the stadium debacle, is there something larger at play than just a little talking point for you? I don't know. I think I like when games at Jubilee. I think it's a great stadium. It reminds me of Cooper's. Bring it to the suburbs, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's where the A-League needs to be played at stadiums like that.
Boutique grounds.
Exactly. It brings in the crowd. You can see families in the crowd. It's good. So Yeah, the whole stadium debacle there. I'm not too sure what's going on personally, but I think the way they've been playing at Jubilee, they haven't been playing their best football, so it's not really a win-win for Sydney at the moment. Yeah.
Very, very interesting to think about. So Adam Le Fondre, he's come in as the Bobo replacement. We know that you told me off camera how big of a fan you were of Bobo.
Yes.
So Adam Le Fondre's come in. A few people may have questioned whether he had the same pedigree to score goals week in, week out like Bobo was for Sydney, but it's very much panned out in the way that he's almost looking like he might be even better. He can't stop scoring at the moment. However, I just want to mention that in the FA Cup final, he was kept relatively quiet by Jakobsen and Elsey, who, given Taylor Regan's just departed, you will assume are safely the preferred centre-back pairing from now on. So what's your take on that? Is Adam Le Fondre going to pop up and give us some nightmares to take back like he has for a lot of other A-League clubs so far this season, or is it going to be something similar to what we saw in the FA Cup final where we kept him quiet and won the game?
Yeah, I think when Elsey and Jakobsen are on, they can be really hard to beat. Izzo on against Victory was really, I'm surprised he didn't get any Alex Tobin points.
Yeah,
it was
and
tough
he didn't against Newcastle either, which was baffling.
Yeah, it was. So I think it just depends how the game's going to go from the first whistle. You can probably tell from there, but if our defence is on, then I think Le Fondre is going to find it tough to find the back of the net, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does score a goal.
Just quickly want to touch on Danny De Silva. So he played against Perth. We haven't seen a lot of him this season. Steve Corica seems to have this reluctance to change his starting 11, win or lose. So Danny De Silva, we know how good he can be. He was fantastic at the Mariners. Is he a bit of a live wire that we might not be thinking too much about, who might creep up and give us a lot to worry about on the day? Or do they have better players like the Le Fondres of the world that we need to stick towards making sure we pay special attention towards?
Exactly. I think when Sydney are in form, you have to really watch out for the whole team. Their midfield hasn't been the best, like Brillante or O'Neill. They haven't been as great as they were the seasons previous, but Danny De Silva, the likes of him, I think we really need to watch out for those types of players.
Very nippy.
Exactly.
He's got a very, very good level of vision as well. Can pick a pass out for fun. So we're going to have to watch out for him. We're just going to steer away from the preview and focus a little bit more about other matters at hand. Just want to ask you, in your opinion, the best business that the club can do during the current January transfer window. There's been plenty of rumours coming out. The most recent ones were actually about players that we're potentially losing. We've lost one of them in Taylor Regan. We know now that's fact. But there was one that came out about Western Sydney being pretty keen on the likes of Apostolos Stamatolopoulos and Isaac Richards as well, the third choice goalkeeper that we've got. At the same time, there's been rumours coming out about players we might be interested in. Val Migliaccio floated the possibility of a Daniel Adlung return from Germany, but that seems to have gone a little bit cold since it came out. And like you said off air, there was talk about the Bobo scenario and whether he might be interested in coming, and also there was a very, very light whisper about Berisha, but we know that's definitely not going to happen. And Fornaroli actually is the more recent of all of them. The trade, are we in there given that we don't usually have the best of resources, and that Perth are also keen, and also Andrew Naboo is another one that's come out. So given these names that are all familiar to us, what's your take? Do we go with a safe option if we can and try and get like an Abu who we know scores goals in the A-League, or do you go out and really risk it by bringing someone that's overseas based?
Ideally a striker we need, and we've been overseas and brought in strikers, and they haven't really worked. So maybe getting an ex-A-League player, a former A-League player of a different club to come in, I think maybe that's the best way to go. Seeing as we've gotten guys from overseas and it hasn't really worked out, so maybe another path is the way.
I did see that Mitchell Duke is now a free agent. He's actually not too old. He's got a history of scoring goals in the A-League.
Yeah.
He's not an out-and-out striker, but he can play there. He started his youth career playing there as well, before I think it was Graham Munn came in and changed what he was doing as a footballer and produced him into being more of a wide player. But he's seemingly available as well. I really wouldn't be too unhappy if we went for him, because he was in that Mariners title-winning season. He was really quite the highlights player and someone that we might be able to bank on coming in. But a striker definitely is the position that we need to pursue. And I mean, there's been so much that's come out. We don't know what has substance to it. We don't know what these owners want to do because we don't know who the owners are.
Yeah.
Is it absolutely critical that some kind of business happens?
I think so. I think, it really needs to happen. I think we play well, like Victory, Newcastle, we can score goals through other players, but I think having a target man is essential. You know, got Craig Goodwin on the wing, even Nicola, to provide those balls in.
Yeah.
And if there's a target man there, you know, someone that can score goals and find the back of the net, we can be laughing. So you feel like like the Ben Hallorans of the world. There have been times, Wellington springs to mind, where, you know, if there's a player in there that has that final polish or the ability to finish off moves, because there's always so many, like Wellington, we just peppered them the entire second half, and you just know that, you know, from watching football over a long period of time, you just know that if there's a recognised striker in that team, we're winning that game. And it's very frustrating, because you then look at the fact that we've got a lot of tough away games coming up, and I feel like the top, you know, from first place down to 5th or 6th, you know, it might only be 2 or 3 wins, you know, that separates everyone by that time. Perth might get a bit of a run going and separate themselves from the rest, but you don't feel like it's going to be a case of, you know, 3rd place is, you know, 12 points better off than 4th. That's right.
So all these games that we haven't finished off because of the fact that we don't have a striker, that worries me. And so I think, you know, even though we've got 3 strikers in the squad, I think you can't risk it.
No.
And you've got to bring someone in, and then at least the club can say, well, you know, even if it doesn't go on and work out the way we think it might, we went in, did the business, we did everything we could.
Exactly.
I don't think there can be any arguing about the fact that we need to do business in January, and we don't always do it. In fact, usually we don't. I think this is a critical stage. I think what you said is absolutely bang on, and it's just interesting, at the same time a little bit frustrating, because you know, you get all these unsubstantiated rumours that fly around. That's just the nature of the A-League, and you just don't know which way we'll go. We might end up bringing someone in no one's ever heard of on you know, the day that the window closes. So
exactly.
It's just one that we've got to wait and see about. Did you see the In Daily article about Marco Kurz and his future? Do you want to just give your thoughts on that?
I'd love to see Marco stay, obviously. I think we play some really good football under him. I know he could probably be frustrated as well, results not really going our way at times when they should be. Then I saw maybe Mark Rudan to maybe take over. We don't know the truth to that, which I'd also like to see. So it's kind of, I'm a bit in a 50-50 at the moment.
You know, it's really fascinating, this whole Marco Kurz saga, because my mentality towards it has always been he doesn't need us as much as we need him. Yet this article, which just came out recently, kind of, you know, made me consider other things as well, because the article was obviously, and we'll talk about this more in a future episode where we discuss the entire saga surrounding Marco Kurz's contract negotiations, but in this article that In Daily put out just a couple of days ago, it talked about the fact that we might actually be wanting to part ways with Marco Kurz by design, because of the fact that there is this increasingly sort of talked about issue within the 4 walls of United that Marco Kurz has a very strict regime when it comes to recovery, and he's overloading the players a lot, and that's the reason for all these injuries that we're getting. So That's made me worry a little bit because right now I think, you know, in such a fixture jam, all we want to be focusing towards is the team and the results happening, and just everything from a football aspect. And given that you always feel that, you know, it's not too far away that a new article is going to come about what Marco Kurz is doing. We saw the one with South Melbourne's interest just this month as well, or towards the end of last year. It's really sort of frustrating, isn't it? And,
it is,
I think the supporter base overall, you know, he's a fan favourite, and it would do a lot to, you know, see him negotiate a new contract for just everyone's confidence. But then I feel like if Marco Kurz really wanted to stay, why didn't he knock on Pierre van der Poel's door the day after he won the FA Cup and ask for a contract negotiation?
Yeah, exactly. It makes you think. Yeah, I mean, you can see that he's very passionate about you know, the game, obviously, and now that he's been with us for his second year. So you can tell that he's passionate for us, and he wants us to win and strive for the best football we can play. But it just, things like that make you wonder, and if he's got maybe another idea for himself in mind. Yeah,
it's a bit worrying, and you know, coaching wise, we always, you know, sometimes we haven't gone with the best option, so you're always sort of worrying a little bit about what might transpire in that regard. Just wrapping up, Cassandra, our key player versus Sydney's key player. Who is it for you, or who are they both for you?
Yeah, I'd say for us, Craig Goodwin. Even Izzy, he had a phenomenal match against Victory. Unbelievable.
Did you see that step over he did?
Yes.
He was a step over and then a Maradona spin and got around 3 Victory players.
The whole crowd just went crazy. Like, the atmosphere when that happened was insane. So definitely either of those two. For Sydney, I'd say Adam Lafondra as well up front. We'll see how Sydney go. I can't say much based on their game against Perth, but I'm sure they turn it around. They'll be hungry for a win as well. Yeah,
you just don't feel like you can really predict them. Kind of like us at the moment. So your final prediction, what happens? What's the score going to be?
It's tough to say. I'm going to go with a draw, maybe a 1-1 draw.
Okay. Who do you think gets on the score sheet? Craig
for us, and Lafondra for Sydney.
Cool. Alright, I'm going to go for a surprise shock 2-1 win for us. And I think,
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, absolutely. And I think Ben Halloran will get on the score sheet. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Okay, got a few exciting things to announce as we wrap. So, firstly, we'll be live for the Sydney FC game directly after the full-time whistle. So make sure you tune in there, ask any questions you have, or provide any comments you want to get off your chest, and they will be addressed immediately. There's an Ange Costanzo interview coming out very soon, the second volume of our Red and Legends segment. There's also topical videos to be released soon, which are focusing on the Marco Kurz contract situation holistically, as well as the state of our ownership and whether it's a good thing that they keep their anonymity or not. Cassandra, thanks so much for coming in. Just before you go, I just want to inform the viewers that there's a very exciting plan we have in the works, which is to be covering the Adelaide United NPL season when it gets underway a little later this year. I think around late February it starts. So we've got plenty of ideas, but we're going to be covering the youth team one way or the other. It's going to be greatly exciting, and very keen for that to happen. Other than that, like and share the page, and please remember to subscribe on YouTube. Cass, thanks so much for coming in. It was great to finally get you in here as someone, the First Lady of Adelaide United's media, as I'm sure it's appropriate for me to coin you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for stopping in, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
For sure, thanks for having me. It's been great.
No worries. Cheers. Thanks, guys.